my best to, when I make a decision, my team doesn't follow me because I told them to do so, or I coerced them to, or I forced them to, although I am on paper, until I am the final decision maker. They follow me because I sold them on why. And so, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes. My girl does.
Do you remember the scene where the King Joffrey, he was being a brat, and he was like, I'm the king, I'm the king, I'm the king. No, listen to me, I'm the king. And Tywin Lannister looked at him and goes, if you have to say you're the king, you're not a king. You know? You know what I'm saying? And so it's more about, if I have to say I'm the team lead, I'm not a team lead. They follow me because I sold them on my vision. I sold them. And even if you remove all the titles and stuff, if you put us in a room and we just met each other, you know, within 2 weeks, I'll probably be the informal team lead. I'll be the formal team lead anyway because I'm the leader. I'm the leader of the team. And so, but also that comes with having a collaborative environment. So I have my team, hey, push back on me. I'm not right on every single thing. Actually, I expect to be wrong sometimes, and a lot of the best ideas come from disagreement and a collaboration and pushing back on each other and the best ideas. So definitely, I try business practice. I try to create a collaborative environment where I'm my best. I sell them on why they do that, and so far, that's definitely been a good thing for me. Yeah.
Were there any snags in the questions, and how long were you studying for that?
About 3 weeks, not marginally here and there.
Oh, you got to clean the sneakers.
My bad.
Put the towel on your lap.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't too bad. Yeah, marginally here and there. It was 65 questions.
Yeah.
But I mean, largely it was around like Amazon services. It's in a way, it's a way to Amazon to indirectly market their products. You know, so
they're big on the marketing.
Yeah. So I just learned about what they would want me to learn about, and what services they would want to take to clients, and go from there. But it was smooth.
Was there anything you noticed about the way they implemented the testing?
That's my third AWS certification, so no different. I mean, certifications are cool, but in a way, it's not really test you on your experience. It tests you based on how well you could take a test.
Really?
You know? Yeah. Okay. So which they're helpful. They help you get your foot in the door. At least AWS ones. I can't speak for other security ones, but for AWS ones, it's more of just an exam. I'll give an example. So one of my coworkers / friends, he has very little AI background, very little AI background, but he took a ML exam to be like, screw it, like why not?
Yeah.
Took some practice tests, and they were really good practice tests, and he passed it.
Okay.
So
it's strictly off the practice test.
Yeah. Big on practice tests, big on practice tests, but yeah, it doesn't really share experience. It just shows if you're a really good test taker, then you can do that. But I don't know, I think people put it on a pedestal sometimes, but. Gotta play the game, right?
When you say people put it on the pedestal on the IT side, what are examples of that?
Definitely. So if I need to be hired for a different role, or if they're looking for recruiting, they look for those certifications, which is all else equal. I mean, it is a net positive in terms of demonstrating, do you have the skill set that they're looking for, or are you qualified for a different role or a position?
Yeah.
But I don't know, at the same time, I think they can be overinflated sometimes, and that can go for plenty of other stuff and resumes, and because people hype,
So you yourself, you're an IT recruiter.
Oh no.
What do you do on your end?
I do a lot of things, but I am an AI consultant.
Okay.
I'll say that's an AI strategist.
What is an AI strategist?
So I manage AI applications or products end to end. So that's concept, strategy, developing it, how to develop it. So overseeing the architecture, where do things get hosted, thinking about costs, then monitoring it, getting feedback, so engaging with stakeholders, prioritizing pain points, things of that nature. If there's a front end, doing some UX UI and focus groups, the whole nine basically. So I manage a team of data scientists, designers. This is really good, by the way.
Thank you.
Data scientists, developers, front end, middleware, back end. So the whole nine. So I wouldn't call myself a data scientist, but I do specialize in data scientists. So I'm not on the ground training models and running that stuff, although I technically could do that. But there's people that I manage that do that job and more on the execution side.
When it comes to IT, what does it mean when you say the concept? Explain what a concept is.
Of IT? Yeah, so IT itself is very broad.
Yeah, it's an ocean.
Yeah, information technology,
Yeah.
but for when I say concept for an AI applications, it's is this something like almost like a hypothesis? Is it something that we can actually do, or it makes sense to actually implement? So maybe when you're first implementing a system, before you jump 100% into some investment, you may want to do like a proof of concept, or they call it MVP, or minimal viable product. So just to see if this has some legs to stand on, kind of like when you date a girl before you marry her. Let's see if it goes somewhere. So when I say concept, is this something that is viable, or something that actually will yield a return on investment based on whatever our goals are?
And then after concept, you said strategy.
Yeah, so strategy, just so making sure, strategy in terms of what's the best way to deploy this. How should we, when we're building out a team, what should we put our resources? So, like right now, I say our most expensive person is a data scientist, but
Your most expensive person is a data scientist?
yeah, on our team, yeah.
Okay.
So, but should that be a UX person? Should the top dog be the architecture person, or
So
maybe,
strategy is more so where funds are being placed, or the strongest point of the team.
Yeah, I would say strategy in general is what's the most. So you have a finite resource, a finite amount of money, a finite amount of time. What's the optimal way, or how should we distribute those resources?
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say the company Apple, for example, they could invest that. They could take that pool of money, they invest in scaling iPhone, or they can take some of that and decide to invest in somewhere else. So they have like the goggles or glasses, or they have the services. So Apple Pay. That's basically one of the biggest jobs of CEO is where should I put these? I have these resources, and where should I put them? And so that's essentially what I try to do is, if we're trying to build different AI applications, what's the best way to distribute these resources? Because we do have finite time and finite money.
So for someone like yourself that deals with AI implementation,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Who's the strongest person in your team and why?
I would say the data scientists or in terms of AI implementation, probably the data scientists on my team, because that's what they're doing on the execution side, on the day to day. And so the thing is, which I struggle with sometimes, is the higher you elevate, especially in corporate America, the more you move away from execution, where you're on the ground executing the work, to more strategy and hands-off overseeing, and which is important. That stuff is really important, but you have to be able to continue to maintain those technical skills. And so I especially rely on my team to do more of the implementation and things of that nature. I could do that, but it makes more sense to have some people that specialize in that. And then one of my jobs to do is to remove all the other barriers so they can do the best job they can. I don't want them distracted. I don't want them focused on other things. I don't want other people bothering them and pulling in different things. I want all of their time focused on high impact work, which for right now for this is helping to figure out what's the best model we should use. How do we make it sure it's secure? What guardrails do we have in place? what infrastructure do we have, which we use, building out the infrastructure, things of that nature.
What would you say is the pro and con of someone being a specialist versus the pros and cons of someone who's a generalist? Because I know this has been an argument point for like the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it varies from what my experience, is my opinion, from what I've seen. People that become masters of something are able to, and it depends on what your goals are. If it's fine, most people are, they want to work to get that bag.
Yeah.
So financially, it's easier to become a master at something than become general at something else. So there's pros and cons, because if you're a master at something, if you're world class at something, then a lot of times you can just name your price, because especially if that is something that is in demand, you can essentially name your price. And they say if you're the best at anything, you're going to be successful. Where if you're a generalist, those can be valuable, but because you don't specialize in one thing, it can be harder to elevate. And also in any profession, it's easier to go from beginner to intermediate than from intermediate to expert, and expert to like that last 90 to 95% or 95, 99% is just as harder than going from the 10% to 30% in a lot of ways, So there's trade-offs to it in consulting, especially it's easy to fall into that general role, because they always want you to do so many different things. But I do tell my team, you do want to specialize in something, because it's easier to grow, and you're able to differentiate yourself from the crowd.
When it comes to consulting, would people reach out to you directly, or do they go through your company and your company lets you know what project you're working on?
Yeah, so I'm in a little bit of both. So in terms of, I have my clients, they'll go through me if they need something. In terms of clients that are not mine, I'll get random spam messages here and there, and then people on LinkedIn will message me, oh, I want to collaborate here, and I want to do this, I want to do that. But my company is such a big company that it's so spread out, they have a team for that, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these shoes are getting cleaner. I need to do more interviews. I got more shoes to clean. I got more shoes to clean, man.
Yo, if you got more shoes, we'll just have more specialized conversations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Makes the time go by fast, too.
It does. When it comes to consulting, what are the 3 most important lessons you've learned on doing consulting in the IT side?
That's a good question. 3 important lessons on the IT side. I think first one, learning sales, and this probably even goes beyond IT, but these are my biggest lessons learned. First one, sales. Second one, people aren't going to care. You have to treat your career as your own company, because people aren't going to care. Everyone's selfish. Everyone's going to look out for themselves. So you have to look out for your own as well. And 3, I would say emotional intelligence, which overlaps with sales. So first, sales. And I don't mean sales as in a traditional sales role, but although that can be helpful, but learning how to, it's everything. So learning how to sell yourself, learning how to sell your idea, how to sell other people, how to, even when you're in an interview or if you're dating, whatever you're doing, you're always trying to sell yourself. Being able to get clients or a team to buy into a vision, or even the fact that I'm here. You sold me on the idea of coming here. Sales is everything. That's something that I'm constantly trying to learn. I'm understanding how people work and why being likable is really important in sales. And so especially if you want to get new clients, or if you want to get your team to buy into something, or if you want to promote, you have to sell people on why you're qualified to do that or why they need to do those things. So sales is number 1. Number 2 is, what was this? Second one? Treat your career as your own company. So at the end of the day, and I don't necessarily fault anyone, people are going to look out for themselves. So whether that means if they're not going to promote you, that could be because some other person, the manager, don't have the money. They want to look out for themselves, and they want to have a good budget at the end of the year, or that could be maybe your manager wants to put you in this position because they need you, and even though that might not be the best fit for your role. So you don't take it I don't take it personally, but at the same time, I try to be intentional and work on things that align with my goals and align with my interests and that best serve me. And so it's very easy to just say yes to everything, but you just say yes to a lot of things, and I want to be an overachiever, but a lot of other cases it makes sense to say no, because you have to protect your interests as well. And the last one is emotional intelligence, and this is something that's really lacking in general in the world, is understanding how to not only how your emotions can come off to other people, but how to read other people's emotions and how to navigate through that. And that comes with being likable. That comes with, because even most people a lot of times people will throw logic at something, and you can throw all the logic in the world, but if you don't get through that emotional side in their brain first, it doesn't matter. They're not going to hear you. It's going to go through one ear out the other. So being able to speak to that and just understanding emotional intelligence, studying it, understanding people, it just makes things so much. For example, it's a lot of times the CEOs or leaders, they're not always the smartest or that have the highest IQ, but they have really high emotional intelligence because they're able to get people to buy into a vision, and they're understanding how to work with conflict and work under tight deadlines and work under pressure and get people to basically help to run an efficient company. And so emotional intelligence. So to summarize, emotional intelligence, learning sales, and being in a healthy way, selfish for your career.
What have you learned on the business end as a consultant?
Oh, yeah, on the business end, where do I start? That I don't fault it. The business end, they have to make money too, and so that's why you see these layoffs or the higher you go, you'll see why certain decisions are made, and so even like for big companies, like maybe for their stock price, they'll follow strategies that align with the shareholders. End of the day, they have to make money, and a lot of times that could be a good thing because then that creates jobs and things of that nature. But at the same time, that can maybe does not serve the interests of everyone, and there's always going to be winners and losers, and so that from that perspective, that can be frustrating, but can also be beneficial if you use that to your advantage. But also just the business side in general, that's something I like to do. So I like to bridge the gap between technology and business, and so and I enjoy thinking strategically and how to distribute resources, how to problem solve, how to think through things, and to come up with the best solutions before executing.
What are some best business practices that you stick to as a consultant?
Best business practices. So the biggest thing, this goes to sales. So I manage a team, and I try my best to, when I make a decision, my team doesn't follow me because I told them to do so, or I coerced them to, or I forced them to, although I am on paper, until I am the final decision maker. They follow me because I sold them on why. And so, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes, my girl does.
Do you remember the scene where the King Joffrey, he was being a brat, and he was like, "I'm the king, I'm the king, I'm the king. No, listen to me, I'm the king." And Tywin Lannister looked at him and goes, "If you have to say you're the king, you're not a king." You know what I'm saying? And so it's more about, if I have to say I'm the team lead, I'm not a team lead. They follow me because I sold them on my vision. I sold them. And even if you remove all the titles and stuff, if you put us in a room and we just met each other, within 2 weeks, I'll probably be the informal team lead. I'll be the formal team lead anyway because I'm the leader. I'm the leader of the team. And so, but also that comes with having a collaborative environment. So I have my team, hey, push back on me. I'm not right on every single thing. Actually, I expect to be wrong sometimes, and a lot of the best ideas come from disagreement and a collaboration and pushing back on each other and the best ideas. So definitely, I try business practice. I try to create a collaborative environment where I'm my best. I sell them on why they do that, and so far, that's been a good thing for me.
Yeah.
Let's see, other business practices. I mean, in general, just do right by people, have a good reputation. I say if my team messed up, I'll take the blame for it. I don't like throwing people under the bus.
That is technically the job of a leader, but most leaders don't
Right. No, seriously.
embrace that part of the job.
At all. And even if they do mess up, I don't berate them in public. I pull them aside, and I even give them the chance to self-correct or correct. So removing someone before giving them feedback on why they were removed, that's not good. Yeah, so just doing right by people.
Yeah.
In general, I think just being it's crazy. This is like a thing that has to be taught, but just being a good person and just doing right by people, having people's back, and using your expertise and your experience to sell people on why they should do something versus forcing them to produces less of a toxic culture.
I think the thing that's hard about the words being a good person is not everyone has the same definition of good across the board. So what you come across is good is usually translated to how would I treat myself.
Right, the project.
Yeah.
Right.
And how I treat myself is technically how I treat others around me. So good is the best that I've given you guys so far. That is my good. Your good might be you treat people better, but me, with how I treat myself, I'll see how you treat people, and I'm like, oh no, that's doing too much. They're not going to get it done if you treat them too well.
Right. And even a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't know how to treat themselves, or they don't take care of themselves. So like, you can't pour out an empty cup. Yeah. So like you thinking you're doing good for someone, you're actually making someone a lot worse. So that can backfire. So it's tough, but it is tough, and a lot of people aren't easy to work with or don't have your best interests. So, but I'm very fortunate on a team. I'm on a team that is generally not perfect. I'm not perfect, but they're contain good people.
Is it expected for IT consultants to have a hands-on skill set?
It depends on what the need is. I wouldn't say it's required, but it's definitely helpful.
Give me an example where it would be required versus, okay, it's not required here.
Yeah. So you said on hands-on skill set, right? Yeah. So any programming language, if something needs to be if a website needs to be created, that's definitely required. If there is some type of platform that is utilized, or like Appian, for example. If that needs to be utilized, then we'll hire for those skills. But
you got to explain what kind of program that is that you just mentioned.
So at a high level, Appian is, I don't want to say the software is server, but it's basically a low code platform where people can enterprise can build applications. Okay. But for like a low code and so you can automate different business processes and stuff like that. And so low-code platforms have become like the thing now because a lot of people, they want to build applications, but without having to learn how to program or hire programmers.
Could you give me an example of where that might be used that we interact with now?
Yeah, so ChatGPT, for example, where people were actually, they call them vibe programmers now, actually.
Oh, the vibe code.
Yeah, vibe codes. Yeah, exactly. They call them vibe programmers.
Yo, Y Combinator, I think that's the name of the company. They did that interview, and it's been the last 10 days. That's all I've heard.
Yep. It's like it's one of the most Googled terms now that I heard on a podcast.
They're talking about 10xing stuff, 100xing stuff, and it's like, guys, if you 10x or 100x stuff, where does the checks and balances come in? And then the other side of it is, if you have these applications that are making these codes and they're plugging and playing, who's going to be able to read the code to find where the mistakes are.
Right.
And then are we also putting ourselves in position that we're losing the skill set of understanding the languages of code that we've learned for so long?
It's getting crazy.
Because remember, when it comes to IT, technically you have to keep using that muscle or you'll lose it.
Yeah, you'll lose it. Yep.
And how quick things go. When you lose something, you can lose something in 3 days if you're not careful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you know the company Anthropic?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you heard the CEO, he came out and said, within like a year or so, 9%, all code would be 9% generated from AI.
See, the issue with that is most people would say that these companies are the reason that coders aren't needed anymore and there's not going to be any more jobs. But you remember that situation that happened with Amazon where you had the self-checkout and you would walk in, it would say how much things cost, and then you would leave and it would just charge your card.
Right.
And then it came out that you had folks in India that were in office that were actually the ones that were doing the AI part, that they advertised it as AI.
Really?
But it's actually people behind it. Yeah, that came out a couple of...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they were actually paying people to make sure to stay on top of the purchases. And it's like, wait, if you advertise this thing and say it's AI and it turns out it's not AI, then the conversation that's brought up is, so the investors who invested in AI and AI isn't made and we're actually paying people, what is their return in trusting this company and getting payback when you have such a bombshell that comes out?
That's crazy.
But you being in the IT space, if you didn't hear about it, that means me, who's in the other side of the IT space, just because the tree falls in the middle of the forest, if no one hears it, did it actually fall?
Right. Outside, out of mind, right?
Yeah. But that also proves how big IT is as a space. Because, like, you know, for me, cloud architecture, some help desk history, a little bit of other things here and there. And for you, it's consultant. But like what we may pay attention to in our personal time might be different in terms of where we're consuming information from.
And stuff
so
was,
for you,
stuff was so fast too.
Yeah.
It's so fast.
So for you, you might be consuming what's a speaking point in the office or what the CEO or the managers that you're talking to are paying attention to right now. And I might be consuming what folks with some of the programs that I work with on the architect side, what they're talking about, and the people that I'm around, they say that's why you're supposed to have a big net of experience of people that you know, because you only hear what's in front of you and what you're consuming.
Right. You gotta have a curious mind. Even before, when you were setting everything up, you were there was an interview we were playing about cybersecurity.
About SOC. What's going on in the SOC world right now.
I'm not as exposed to cybersecurity on a day-to-day basis, so it was cool to hear about that. But I know that's more up your alley.
And when you came in, you saw it on the TV.
Exactly. I wasn't even playing. That was very very natural, very organic.
Today on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'll usually consume just to be on the know-how of what's going on, what situations are out there. Is there any drama that I should be aware of? Because, like, at the end of the day, no matter what you do or know in tech, it all comes down to business. Business actually dictates everything across the board, business and marketing. So, like, AI being important right now, the reason AI is important is because now it's an excuse for companies to shorten down all the people that they've been paying a lot of money to, because there's no more loans that the banks and investors are going to be giving these companies to spend bread to look like they're very successful and they're doing a great job. And this is actually a reason for them to outsource the money. So whatever they're paying someone $80 an hour to do, they could get someone in India or a couple of these other countries and pay them $10 an hour. Right? Because at the end of the day, business-wise, you are supposed to keep your costs low. But on the American side, we're used to this lifestyle. We have all these expensive homes. We have all these expensive car notes. We have expensive groceries. We need this money for our quality of life. But someone across the country is like, hey, I'm just glad I could get 10 American dollars an hour for the work that I'm doing to support my family over here. And that's why the scales are tipping. But AI is an excuse to make these moves. Because, like, companies don't have to share who they're hiring. They're just sharing who they're firing.
That's a bar.
You get what I'm saying?
That's a bar.
Right? And when they do hire new people, they technically don't have a responsibility to let the public know this is where we're hiring new people from. We can just say AI. AI is a great excuse to not explain yourself or what's going on right now. And that's the craziest part.
Like low accountability.
Yeah.
Low accountability.
Low accountability.
So you want me to put this shit right here, or I'm done?
I was going to say just put down. Did you want to do the bottoms or no?
I think I'm okay for now.
So you don't clean the shoe bottoms? Because you got the big brush. If you want to just give the bottom like a
You
quick,
think that's dirty?
a quick clean. I mean, I don't know. I've never had those pairs, so I don't know what they look like when they originally came out the box.
So these specifically are supposed to be the light pink.
So that's the light. So that light pink is the color.
Yeah, that's the color.
All right. Have you ever cleaned the bottoms before?
I have not.
Give it a light brush.
I should clean the brush.
Yeah, do the big. Do the big brush. Do the big brush. Give it a quick brush.
I'll clean the bottoms. Cool.
Yeah.
You know what? Because like, you know people that bathe, they don't clean their feet.
Oh my god!
That's what that's like. That's what that's like.
Oh god!
That's what that's like.
Oh Jesus!
Stop at the shins.
I was not expecting to hear that today. Not in this home. Jesus.
Literally, man. Literally.
As a consultant, how do you go about finding the proper talent? Or do you have someone that takes care of that?
It's a mix.
Okay.
So, I obviously have like recruiters and things of that nature. It's tough because there's only so much you get from an interview, and so I try to. So oftentimes, like interviews, for example, you find out more from the follow-up questions than the initial surface level question, because then you're able to dig. Ultimately, what the goal of an interview is you try to figure out who they are, and so and then. On both sides, because the person, that interviewer and interviewee,
they're supposed to be shopping you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So to see if this is like dating, so to see if it's a good match or not.
That's why you hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it is tricky, but asking follow-up questions is key in the type of questions you ask. So I like to ask scenario-based questions. So because it's easy to rehearse, you're reading off your resume. Talking about your experience, it's harder to rehearse, like, hey, what will the architecture be of Instagram? Like, map it out for me. That's hard to rehearse, know? So overall, I try to ask questions that really dig at, I'm not trying to get them, but just trying to dig at, like, what's your skill? Who are you? Can you think on the spot?
So if you ask that kind of question, I think the first thing you would expect is, okay, so we're creating an app. That should be the first thing.
Yeah, clarifying questions is important.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I think the next assumption, if I was doing an interview, would probably be, okay, what are the important layers that we need to make sure the foundation of the app is being built correctly?
Exactly. Yep.
And then after that, I guess you would expect them to ask you, all right, what do you expect of this user base?
Right.
So then that basically comes into how important the UI is. So you're talking about videos, photos, personal messaging if someone wants to DM, security, in terms of privacy. So not security in terms of locking people out, but security in terms of if you DM someone, that DM should only be shared to you and the other person, and that DM shouldn't accidentally be sent to one of your followers who doesn't know why this conversation is happening.
Okay.
And then what would other questions that you would ask, or you would expect them to ask you as they're building out the app?
Yeah, so many. It's like, are we in the cloud? Is it on-prem? Okay, scalability, what do we do there? What are trade-offs to all these different, what are some risks to this type of architecture, that architecture?
Are the investors expecting a payback after the end of this app?
Yeah.
Okay, does that change what kind of app in terms of how it's executed? How it's executed? Like, let's say they ask a question, all right, are the investors expecting to get paid back off of what we're creating on this version app?
You can go that detail too. And as an interviewer, I would guide you on if you're going the right direction or not, or I'll say, and it's because you want the interview to be a conversation, and ideally, and so I would say, okay, explain more about this, or okay, now we need to worry about that right now. Let's go in this direction, and the thing that question like that is very vague. It's very vague, and it's vague on purpose. Because as an interviewer, I want you to ask follow-up questions and dig deeper into what the real ask is here, and it's less about giving the right answer, but more about how you think. And that's something you can't really, that comes out more in those type of questions because it's hard to rehearse that.
So for a security person, you would expect them to talk about two-factor authentication. Right, before building the app, putting it all together. But for, let's say a data person, in terms of like, where's the information going to be put and stored,
data warehouse, data analytics, what metrics would you track? You know, So
what's
just
too much funding wise for the company?
Right,
What are we
right,
trying
right,
to keep this within a year?
Right.
Do we have a set amount that dictates, hey, should we start charging this customer? Which that's been a newer thing on the application side.
Right.
And then setting that up.
That's the best way to monetize it. You know? Yeah. Instagram, they show ads. You know,
connecting it with Meta, since Meta is now the parent company for that. So how does that play into the creation of the app too?
Right. Where the metaverse come in? You know, there's so many directions you can go in, and it's a vague question on purpose. But then even your clarifying questions gives me insight into, okay, what it's like to work with you.
Ooh, also connecting it with threads.
Yeah. And if you're a security person, okay, how would you, what kind of cybersecurity techniques would you use to protect Instagram? Or what kind of threats do you think they have to deal with? You know, stuff like that. So
what's the security that they have right now? And knowing, all right, we have this security, but what's the legacy security that's built in from behind that we don't think of that actually plays into that program?
Right. Or even like a strategy perspective, like maybe a question could be, should Apple invest in video game consoles like Xbox and PS5? Does it make sense for them? What are the pros? What's the industry like? What's the pros of that? What's the cons of that? And what's the opportunity cost? Because they could, instead of investing there, they could invest in some other endeavor. Does it make sense for Apple to invest in Uber self-driving or self-riding? Actually, they did. They did ask their self-driving car actually, so that didn't go well.
That was a very short-lived project. They were really hype, but I mean, that's also where business comes in, because they looked at how the car market wasn't booming like they thought it would have been, and what it came down to when they executed burying that project is the juice going to be worth the squeeze if we build this car as Apple and we don't have a whole economy around it, and we already have this successful economy high interest rates. We already have cell phones and laptops, and we also have our Apple programming that we're doing right now. And at that time, they were actually working on a business contract with the NBA and a couple other sports between baseball and a couple other companies, and how that would play into. And then they looked at that and they were like, hey, if we do this car, it's going to turn out to be a waste of time with where the market is going right now. And at that time, when Apple did that, that was right before all the car companies were doing markups on these car prices. And it's like, hey, are we going to be able to compete with how much this stuff costs as someone that doesn't have a legacy car yet?
Right. And plus, Apple, companies like that, Apple, Google, Amazon, they're one company, but it's really just a collection of like hundreds of companies almost.
Yeah, consortiums.
Because all those companies, they have a portion where it's like big bets. Let's just see what sticks. You know, big bets. Let's just see what sticks. And so even that loss, Apple makes so much revenue.
Just off the hype.
Yeah, just off
the hype of, hey, this is the thing. So you got investors.
Right.
And even after they take away the cars, how many investors are really going to leave Apple?
No, it's Apple.
Yeah. The guarantee is it's too high.
Right. Steve Jobs, man.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs.
What were you before you were a consultant in the IT space?
Yes, I've been. So that's been my whole career actually.
Okay.
I mean, I interned. I did a couple of internships. I was a process improvement. You ever heard of Lean Six Sigma?
No, tell me more.
So it's a Lean Six. So Toyota, the car company, for example. So Japanese manufacturing was huge because they implemented processes called Lean Six Sigma that basically reduced waste, and so then that allowed them to basically sell the same car for cheaper, and then that's why they ship cars over here and then the U.S. and then that's how. They started going, instead of people buying, American cars, they started buying Toyota. That's how you have the whole tariff thing going on, stuff like that. But basically, Lean Six Sigma is looking at the waste of any process and trying to remove that to improve that business process. Okay. So I did a little bit of that in my intern, but it's not really technical. That you're not programming, although you can use it for a technical project. It's not a technical skill in and of itself. And then consulting itself, I didn't start out technical. I mean, although my major was computer information systems, it didn't start out technical. And I just bounced around from project to project trying to find my niche. And at one point, I wanted to be a software developer. So I joined a project where our responsibility was building web applications. And it was primarily using R. So R, a little bit of JavaScript and D3, but mainly R, Shiny. And it was cool, but...
Can you explain what D3 is for the person that doesn't know?
Yeah, so D3, it's... Not the best way to explain it. It's really cool. Basically, you ever seen how, like, you ever zoomed into, let's say, an image on a computer? You ever been able to zoom into an image and then the resolution doesn't change? The pixels don't change. Like, it's still the same quality, even whether you zoom in and zoom out. It's D3 is this language where I don't know the how it actually works, but it's basically you're able to create images and really any elements on the web at very high dimension, like very very high, and it integrates with JavaScript, but it's very very high. Like, you can almost make a movie from D3. Yeah, it's very very niche. I haven't seen it used a lot elsewhere, but they were using it there. But very a lot of R and a little bit of JavaScript we were using there.
So technically, its most common use would be going on Twitter and doing a close up on a photo, and the photo make sure to pixelate for it to be clear, or doing that on Instagram.
Right. But it's not the photo. Necessarily the photo itself, but like you think of any element. So if you're building the Twitter logo, for example, or like it's just a way to code something that's very high resolution and it keeps that same quality.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. That's
so for
awesome.
for the web application we were building, we were using it would build graphs and charts for statisticians and for clinical reviewers.
Yeah.
And so you want high quality charts so they can put into their own drug reviews and things of that nature. And so it helps with the quality of like the different data points and the graphics and the pictures and stuff like that.
What does it mean to walk a day in your shoes as an IT consultant?
A day in my shoes. So many things. So I guess I think I can divide into three things. There's developing the techie side. That's like the sexy part. There is the business side. And then there's the like front end, like customer engagement, UX, UI. So I'll talk about it from those three things. So in terms of the business side, so I manage different applications. So the first thing I do every morning is I look at the usage. So like who used it the day before, was there any bugs, what kind of feedback did we get on it, how's it performing, things of that nature. And then I'll also read up on the news. So I read up a lot on TechCrunch, where I'll talk about different technologies that people are deploying and software and stuff like that. Different large language models or AI models that are coming out. I'll read up on that. And then business. So I'm on different meetings. So, for example, like how should we? There's these list of features. What's the best way to prioritize them? Stuff like that. On the technical side, my day it involves a lot of the underlying infrastructure of applications. So for example, we're in the cloud. So making sure the servers are healthy and operating correctly, making sure it's everything's secure. If there's new features, what are the best way to go through that? Reviewing people's code. So is there a better way to code through this application? Because so you got it working doesn't mean it's the best way to code it. You want it to run efficiently. Helping my team think through technical concepts, things of that nature, and then lastly on UX, like UI. So that requires like a lot of customer engagement. So getting feedback. So probably one thing I like about customer engagement is that, or there's a quote, I can't remember who Tim Ford is the person that made the Ford car. He has a famous quote where he said that if I asked people what they wanted, they would ask for a faster horse. And the idea is basically people do a lot, and most generally, not all, but generally, people are great at are communicating what their pain points or what my problems are. Not the best at solutioning, because that's our job. No, we're the one that study this, we're the one that specialize in that. And so, and kind of like what you're doing now, asking open questions and trying to have a listening ear, getting their feedback and how to translate that feedback into enhancements or different ideas. Like one of the hardest things about my jobs is I get feedback from everywhere. I get feedback from my team, I get feedback from clients, I get feedback from other stakeholders, I get feedback from my managers, I get feedback from customers, and I have to take all of that together in real time and how to prioritize that and parse. You want good feedback is you want as much feedback as possible, but not all feedback is good feedback, and so being able to parse that out is really important. But overall, I mean, I love my job. It's saying all that. It's great. So I'm very, very blessed where I am.
So let's talk about layoffs.
Uh oh.
How has you've been in this field for about 7 years now, right?
10.
10 years.
Yep.
Out of 10 years, as someone on the tech side, what would you say the difference is in the market between year one compared to year 10 right now?
In terms of layoffs?
Not
Or-
just layoffs, just what you're viewing and seeing in the IT field.
Like trends and things of that nature. Yeah. I would say it's definitely harder to get into it. Like for example, or just in general, jobs in general is tough. I was reading at Harvard MBAs that like after I think 20% of Harvard MBAs are still looking for a job after 3 months.
Which is like a 10% drop off of the hiring rate that they had
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
It's close
So-
to 90
Yeah, usually a Harvard MBA was you got,
immediately.
yeah, you got a job immediately at Harvard.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more competition, and especially what you're alluding to earlier, where companies are hiring overseas with visa programs. And so then not only you're competing with those, you're competing with people that don't have jobs. You're competing with people that want a new job. So it's a lot of competition. Also, I've noticed that the trend is that companies want to do, they say they want to do less with more, or they want to do more with less. And so a lot of times in terms of layoffs I've seen is so that if you imagine there's like a triangle and you have the CEO, C-suite, and then you have the executioners on the bottom, on the ground. The ones in the middle are the ones that are becoming at risk because their thinking is they won't need you as much because as long as we can do that job for you, and then we have the executors doing the work. And so being leaner, that companies call it, is something that's trending. In terms of what's in demand, I would say cybersecurity is not going anywhere because there's always going to be threats, and as we get more data, that needs to be protected. So
All these mistakes. that you're
I
seeing.
haven't seen cybersecurity and then we get laid off. That's not.
Well,
like
I mean,
that.
unless Doge is involved.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
Doge. But outside of extreme scenarios like that, they're need as much as ever. AI especially, but there's so many different roles around AI. So there's AI, the models themselves, but it's also myself where you're more of a strategist and managing AI applications. There's prompt engineering. So basically what that means is how do I ask questions or an AI model questions in a way where I get the best response. And 'cause if you ask, it's kind of an idea in AI trash in, trash out. So you give it trash data, it's going to give you trash back. So the AI and cybersecurity is definitely trending. And a lot of companies are still hiring. So your Googles, your Amazon, they're still hiring, but they're more intentional about where they hire now. And it seems like overall they're slimming down, but they're overall more intentional.
Would you say that these new applications like Indeed and a lot of these websites have actually made it harder to pick and choose who you hire because there's such a flood of applications and processes?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like LinkedIn, even if you don't apply within a day, then it's not going to be seen because even recruiters, they don't read resumes. They get hundreds. They skim them at most.
Yeah.
If they're not using AI to automate that process, they skim them. So if there's even like a slimmer of doubt on your resume, look through it, they're gonna just toss it aside to go to the next one.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard. And to your point on Indeed, access to jobs, which is a good thing. You want people to have access to it, but access breeds more competition, and so that makes it harder too. And so you have to do other things such as look up to who the hiring manager is and try to stick out there and spend so much time, updating your resume, try to align with the job description, things of that nature. So yeah, it's a trade-off. It's good that we have that technology, but then it makes it to where competition is hard, especially when now they're displaying the salaries on there. And so if they display, 200, 300K plus job, yeah, it doesn't hurt to apply for it.
Have you heard about how recruiters are hurting the talent coming into the market now?
In what way?
So there's been stories that have come out about recruiters that will find talent. And let's say you as a company, you have a role that's available for 150K a year. And the recruiter will have a pool of people, like let's say 10 folks, and they will pitch that job as, hey, they have this job that's available for 110 or 100K instead. And then people come on board, they do the interview, and they find out after the fact that they've gotten hired that the recruiter actually lowballed them going into the job. But for the recruiters, they're pitching it to the company saying, hey, look how much money we're saving you guys.
I can see that.
But it doesn't make a difference for the recruiter at all. It only screws over the talent that's coming in.
Yeah. That I can see that happening, and but I would say I like negotiating in general. So, I mean, on the company side, they want to do an ideal scenario is get as much work production out of you as low cost as possible.
Yeah.
Where we're trying to do is we're trying to make as much money at as much production as possible. So, and you're trying to come together to meet in the middle about what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so that's not surprising that if that recruiters are doing that.
Yeah.
I will say also recruiters offering someone a salary and not getting them is very expensive for them, because then they have to, it's not cheap to go through all these interviews and hire them and spend all this time and energy doing all that on top of like having to train them and do that all over again.
Which is all the cost.
Yeah, that's all the
Because
cost.
if it's not time, then it's money.
Right,
And if it's not money, it's resources.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you know, recruiters, I've heard stories about them ghosting people and not getting back.
Which is a new trend.
Yeah.
A new trend of the last 3 years that's been happening.
Yeah. It's crazy. And maybe in part you could say that's in part because of the influx of people. So it's hard to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some merit. There's merit to that. And I would like to say probably most recruiters are trying to do the best they can. And so it's tough, and everyone wants to a lot of people do want to get in tech.
Yeah.
But
you have to remind people this is a very thick-skinned industry.
Oh, yeah. Very, 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 very thick-skinned. And if you have a job, be grateful for it.
Yeah.
Be very grateful. I think I finally move on to, what do you think about that?
I think that's perfect.
That's
I think
good.
you've done a great job.
Woo! Let me try to compare. Yeah, see, I can already see that stuff mark here.
Yeah, I can see it immediately.
Yeah. Cause I've been trying to get that other stuff mark here out, and I could not get it out. But then your magic toothbrush.
Today,
your magic.
Can't give these companies any free advertisement. Yeah, today we got it.
We're gonna sit that right there. The word is tomorrow. The word is tomorrow, man. But I mean, saying all that, I mean, I'm very fortunate to be where I am. Had great mentors, great people backing me, and great community, and it's a controlled environment where I'm able. One of the best ways to learn is be able to fail in a controlled environment. So everyone makes mistakes, but it's when you fail in a controlled environment, or when you make a mistake, it's not the death of you.
Yeah,
and you're able to learn from it and then come back and get back in the ring.
How important is failure to the things that you do?
So the best way I learn, or how my team in law consulting is, it's very sink or swim, and so you just get thrown in there and just see how you do. And even if maybe like my program for R, for example, I'm self-taught. Other programming language I just taught myself, and you just get thrown in there, and you're gonna make mistakes, but that's how you learn. And I don't look at it as failures; I just look at it as lessons.
Walk me through your process of self-teaching yourself.
Yeah, so when I was doing R, I would, Coursera. So I would take courses on Coursera.
Yeah.
Get up at 8 a.m. every day before work.
Yeah.
And just push out 30 minutes to an hour.
I'm doing a pen testing course now.
And ideally, the best way I learn is I learn through experience. So you can watch all the YouTube videos, read all the books you want, but if you're not actually hands-on, you're just not it's gonna be really hard to grasp the concept of it. You're not gonna really, you'll get it at surface level, but you don't really understand it the way you need to. And so the courses came along with projects too, so I would do projects as well. And I remember at one point I'm an NBA nerd. Like I really like basketball.
Yeah.
And so I did. Lakers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Doing great this year.
Yeah,
Well, they're
yeah,
number 5th seed, right?
Yeah, they got
yeah.
Luka. My dad's from LA, so
Yeah.
all you bandwagoners think I'm bandwagon.
LeBron's out for like 5 more days right now with the hip flexor situation.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I say estimated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Bronny
hey, he
doing a great job in the G League.
Yeah. We do my Bronny on the team.
Do you want my honest opinion or do you want a fan opinion?
Always.
Okay. Wait, let's finish this up and then we'll get
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a good answer for you.
Yeah. What was on before?
We're talking about your process when it comes to self-studying and self.
Oh, right. Okay, got you.
And you were talking about Coursera.
Yeah, Coursera. So after I finished that, well, simultaneously, I was trying to get a technical role. So then I had others vouch for me that I did right by. Like, there's there's opening on this team, possibly, can they get me? And a person on my team, they took a chance on me, and because I was featuring myself and things of that nature. I will say this, once you get on the job actually with other actual programmers, it's a whole other game.
Yeah, that speed is way faster.
Yeah, you think you know, but that's how you learn.
And also the expectancy of your knowledge.
Right. You think you know, but man. But from there, and you I worked with a lot of really smart people, and just being around them and having them review my own code and looking at theirs, it's like a sponge. You just soak up all that knowledge, and you just keep getting in there. Yeah. But after about a year or two, though, I learned that that's not something I want to do in the long term.
Because you tested it out.
Yeah, you're saying, and I'm a good programmer, but I'm not. I don't think I'm at master.
And also, you've seen the example of folks that are at that level, and you think to yourself, "Can I love it as much as they love it?" Because
I don't.
With people that are at that level, don't get me wrong, they'll get frustrated over their mistakes, but then there's this light that gleams behind their eyes when they get a chance to fix it.
Right.
And I tell folks, hey, if you don't have that, that may not be for you, but at least you know where you don't fit.
Right. And how I see it's all about perspective. So they look at it as fixing it and and that's exciting. What I look at it is kind of like a relief. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, I fixed it. Then you gotta do it all over again. It just got exhausting. I mean, the talent program is what would take me maybe an hour to figure out someone else can do in 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, or 5 minutes. And that just comes with time, it comes with anything. But it just, I more so enjoy the navigating the business and the technology. So thinking of talking strategy, thinking of strategy, but also how can we use technology to solve problems, and even explaining. One thing I think I'm good at is teaching. So I got tutor on the side, tutor high schools on the side.
And you take a lot of pride in it.
Yeah.
You got to put both in. You take a lot of pride.
I appreciate it. But taking complex concepts and breaking it down in a simple way for people to understand, that's something I think I'm really good at.
Yeah.
And so technology, being able to explain those concepts to non-technical audiences is also a skill that I enjoy doing as well.
Okay, so Bronny.
You don't fuck with it?
I think no. I actually like it a lot. So if I'm one of the biggest stars in the league, right, and LeBron James, because that's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
My son almost passed away on the basketball court in college.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't give a damn what anyone has to say. I'm getting him in the league.
Right.
It's already his dream to want to be in the league. So as his dad, I'm gonna do everything that I can to get him in the league.
Right.
Now, on his development, I think the Lakers were mishandling his development early in the season between keeping him on the team and sending him into the G League and only plugging him in the last 5 minutes of games. Right? You're not really going to get a full sample size of what does he need to work on if you're only plugging him in.
And those minutes don't even matter anyway. Yeah.
Now, on the G League side, because this was one of the first times I had an excuse and a reason to pay attention to what's going on in the G League. I think Bronny did a great job of developing himself into a great player. I could see him averaging 12 points a game in the NBA right now. Good with the assist. He actually has a lot of his vision that LeBron has when in terms of his capacity to see the court
Right.
and make the move is really good.
Right.
And I think he needs to work more on his defense more than his offense because he's already physically gifted.
Right.
And it's something
Yeah,
that he's
right.
worked on. It's
LeBron's
not,
kid.
hey,
Right.
I'm just his kid and I'm just this physical. No, you could tell he's putting in a lot of work. And right now he's young.
Right.
You were picked, what, number 56 in the draft?
Right.
What do you expect out of number 56 in the
Right,
draft?
right,
what
right.
have
Nothing.
any of us ever
that
expected
almost
out of
died in
number
the court.
56?
That almost died,
Yeah,
literally.
in the draft.
Right.
And then that class that he came in, what you don't really hear anybody talking about is how are the other rookies that came in with his class doing right now in the NBA?
That's a good
You
point.
get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
with Bronny, though, it couldn't be helped that a microscope was on him because LeBron said, hey, I think my son's better than a lot of NBA players that are currently playing.
Right.
That is a your fault thing. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
He also, I forgot, there were like a couple other statements that he said that I can't think of off Bucks. But I mean, what do you expect? You expect a dad to be honest about their kid? No. If their dad sees potential and their
Right.
dad says, hey, if they work hard enough, they're going to get there. It's Bronny's job to prove his dad right.
Right.
Right? And we see he's starting to hit buckets in games. Remember, this is his first year. He's starting to hit buckets in games, right?
Right.
You're seeing the crowd has always been excited at the fact that Bronny is in the league because that's LeBron James' son, and we've never seen a son and father playing on the same team. But there's a certain excitement that I think Bronny is working his way up to meeting expectation-wise in the league. Now, playing minutes and everything else, I think at his position, he's a bit undersized, but I think he can make up for that and being explosive.
Right.
And I think he's doing a phenomenal job of learning and absorbing and executing. I don't know if there's a lot of other players in the league right now in the G League that this is their first year that are developing as fast as him.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of maybe two other players that aren't getting the same amount of coverage.
Right.
But like, it's not bad. This is if that is what year one looks like in terms of boos. Well, no one booed him, but the media did.
Right.
And now that he's doing well, they're not really covering it. Now that he's scoring points, they're not really covering it. He just had like a 30-something point game in the G League a month ago, or like a little bit like recently.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey man, the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah. Why not?
We're getting into April right now.
That probably helps.
Building
probably
up.
helps LeBron too. You know, keep him focused or whatever. Like, why not?
And with LeBron though, you could see the concern of where's this going, because like I think the most important thing you could do for Bronny right now is have the Lakers get into the playoffs for 2 more seasons and get him accustomed what playoff speed looks like.
Right.
And understanding what are the smart moves and decisions and things you need to be concerned about going into the playoff as a young player. Because look, once you've adapted to playoff speed and you know what's expected of you and you know what your limit is, you got all off season to go and work on it. You get to work on it. You get to say, this is what I saw in the playoffs. This is what I need to start working on. What do I need to be in the preseason? What do I need to be in season? What do I need to do? What do I need to be in playoffs? And then the most important thing for Bronny is, when LeBron's no longer in the league, what would be the next best team for Bronny after the Lakers?
Right. No,
exactly. And I think that's something that they'll work on right now. But I think he's positioned really well. I think it looked bad because there was an over-examination of Bronny and see, look, he can't do it. And the one game that they put him into play, like the very first game, when they had him go against Philly, when Philly was actually all cylinders, I was like, yo, what are we doing right now?
Swim.
Yeah, but I mean, you need that. You need an embarrassing game. You need an NBA moment. You need hey, now really welcome to the NBA.
Right.
And I think he's gotten all those things, but he's getting better. And that's what I expected of it. What was that contract for? 3 or 4 years? Was it $12 million or something? A little bit more, a little bit less? And it's like, nah, get everything you can. And he's doing that. He's doing that. And that's the most important part. If he wasn't doing that, or he wasn't meeting the moments, or you didn't see the confidence building up, I think the path toward this would be different. But I think for the Lakers, what it also says is the Lakers are a team that can develop players. And right now we're playing in a league that you really look around the league and you say, hey, are these teams actually developing their players, or do they just get good players, give them plays, and whatever their skill set is, that's just what they are for the rest of their NBA career. And that's hard. Because you look around the league, like the Wizards are a great example of that. Have they developed players? Nah, teams come and they pick players off every other year. You feel what I'm saying?
That's a sad
like,
story.
as much as Jordan Poole is here, and Jordan Poole just had a dagger game. I forgot who he scored against.
It's the Nuggets.
And it was awesome. That was awesome, right?
Yeah.
He's Poole of Golden State. Now, what I will say, Poole rebuilt his image also. Coming from Golden State, having that whole situation with Draymond Green, getting hit, leaving, getting that big contract, right after getting the big contract.
Right.
That first year was rocky, but I felt like people weren't being fair to Poole. They're like, he has his own team. Now he got to prove it. Nah, I just got snuffed in the face by homie. I'm kind of dealing with that for the first year.
He was broken.
Yeah. But like his spirits is back. He's protecting his team. He's very serious about what they have going on. You could tell the team likes him. And that's also the most important part when you do a comparison of Bronny to Jordan Poole. I look at, does the team fuck with you?
Right.
Your skill set will get there, but if the team fucks with you as you're working on it, woo!
Yeah.
Woo, that's what scary is when teammates actually like, they really like, They want to
go bad with each other.
Yeah.
And on the... Or bring it back to the technology, so nepotism. People don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Like, it's everywhere. I mean, you not like it, but if people don't like Bronny getting a job or getting in the league because of his dad, and I don't want to hear about referrals or anything.
Yeah.
Don't get you for a job referral.
Yeah.
if you don't like nepotism.
I always just ask, hey, did they meet the expectations? Now, if folks was like, well, he wasn't successful at USC, my question is, all right, when's the last time USC was successful in basketball on the bigger stage? That's the more important question. Because if you don't have a history of a team being successful there, was he recruited there because he wanted to stay home with his parents? He got to play in college and it was one of his dreams to play in college? Or did he come there and say, I'm going to change the program, I'm going to bring them a championship and all those other things? And guess what? He didn't say any of those things. And also the coaches weren't really trying to play him either. The style of basketball that they had and the style of basketball he was playing at that time, because I pay attention to Gilbert Arenas, he was more of a good facilitator, sharing the ball, getting everybody involved. And when you get to the NBA, you could be all those things, but you need to be selfish. You need to own the rock, take your shot when you have it, and work on those things. Because it's not, hey, who can I pass it to? It's, hey, can I make this shot? And if it's a bad shot, who do I pass it to after I've attempted or tried to look for making the bad shot? And that's different because a lot of these coaches in college, they teach you, hey, share the ball. Hey, get everyone involved. Hey, it's a team play. Get to the NBA, it's like, hey, man, what did that player do for me? Why we recruit this guy? What can he do for our team?
You know, Karl Anthony Towns? I heard that, he's like one of the best three-point shooters in the league for a big man. Like Calipari, you mentioned him, he didn't let him shoot threes in college. And I heard that scouts actually didn't, when Cat started working out for teams, they didn't realize he could shoot threes. Like, oh my God, he could shoot threes? Because he never did in college. He wanted to focus on being a traditional big man, getting rebounds and
that was around the time that the coaches in college, they were the sayers of what you can be or you cannot be.
Right.
At the time.
Right.
Yeah. So how does that mentality play out in IT? The team mentality, does that exist? As a consultant?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that?
My team really gets along. Oh, yeah. I've been on both sides. But
is your team getting along mean your team is working as efficient as they can for their talent set? Or does not everyone need to be the lead in an IT team?
Yeah, that's a good question, I think.
I like that response. Like, ooh, it's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I'll say this: the bigger the team, the harder it is to shine. That's in anything. So, I'll say for my teams, I'm the lead. I have to be very careful of. I can't remember the phrase, but basically, if I'm the lead and I'm presenting something to my managers, whatever, our team did this, I did that, it can be inferred that I'm taking the credit for it. Because I'm presenting it. I'm the one that's sharing it. So it's easy to, especially if you're busy, you're on the day, oh, this Terrence told me X, Y, and Z. Okay, then that's Terrence's thing. So I have to make sure to, like say, for example, I have executors on my team to get the credit. Okay, but hey, like this person did X, Y, and Z, or this person deployed, this person did that. You know, of course I was there overseas, but this person did this. Or even sometimes I'll say, hey, you reach out to them. Because I want them to get the credit. Especially if I know they have, like, I've already got my bag, I want them to get theirs.
Yeah.
So
you also want to make sure that they know that they can communicate
Right,
these
right.
things too, and it's not always through me.
Right, exactly. I
Yeah.
don't want to be a silo either,
Yeah.
or a micromanager. And so, but especially a bigger team, it can be tricky. But I think a lot of it comes down to, also one of my career where it goes back to treat your career as your own business, is that you have to tell people about the work you're doing. That's your responsibility. You can do all the great work, but if you're not telling people about it, or if it's not work that's the company doesn't deem high impact, then they're just gonna put it by the wayside. So it is the individual's responsibility to also tell people what they've been doing, what they've been working on, and communicate the value that you're adding. Because, again, people aren't going to do it for you. So, but team's great. I love the team. We all get along. Very zero drama. Very rare, but it's great. But you do have your teams. I would say in for the NBA, you do have your team superstars here or there. But I will say, basketball, more than most other sports, it's more, one player can have a higher impact on winning than I think relative to the team size, than other sports. Where football, outside the quarterback, quarterback can't do it alone. You need a line. You need receivers to throw to.
I think Russell Westbrook and Jimmy Butler are two good examples of that. Where a lot of people say, well, they're not doing a lot of scoring, so how do they win? But then they get on these teams, and you see these teams are running better than they were before.
Right.
Both Russell and Butler, they're willing to do the dirty work over scoring.
Right.
But then when you see where their assist happens, or where their blocks happen, or the hustle, and you see how that translates into how the team plays, you think to yourself, I don't remember my team having that before. Now that they have it, I don't want to see what my team would look like if they no longer have that edge on the court.
Right.
And how that makes a difference in the performance.
Right. No, it all matters. To that, you do have your members that aren't the stat sheet, people. They're the ones that are in the background.
That in between the lubricators.
Yeah. You need them. But their value to show up on the stat sheet. But when they're on the team, they perform much better than if they're not on the team. So, and that is important to recognize too. Just recognize who those people are, because not everyone, they're going to be like the sexy names or the 30 points, 50 points. A lot of them are coming off the bench, and maybe they're not the person that scored, but the one that makes that extra pass, or they make that extra screen, or they take that charge, or they make that cut that opens up another player, or gets another player open. Those are on the stat sheet, but those are crucial to the team winning.
Yeah.
So, no, that's really important. The thing's getting clean. I'm gonna use this one. I have a little. I had this mark right here. I have it's a stubborn one. I'm trying to get out. There's something like therapeutic about this.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah. You already knew it.
Once you get into the zone, that's it. You're like, I should do this more often.
Yeah. But overall, I like it. I love my job. I do enjoy where technology changes so much. So there's always something new coming out, and there's always some new system or new way of doing things that I can think about. Okay, is something I can take to my job, or something that my clients will find valuable.
Yeah.
So I really do enjoy that part.
What are two IT positions that you think should come through to do an interview here? Folks that that you're like, I think their stories would be interesting on this platform.
Who have you had already?
I've had a cloud architect.
Okay.
I've had you as an IT consultant. And I have access to a couple of folks, but I like hearing people suggest folks and then having them line up interviews to come on. You
would like UX UI.
UX UI.
Because I know, because you're also interested in psychology and mental health.
Yeah.
And not more, but a lot, they understand how people think and their usage and their psychology when using applications. And there's there's like, imagine a Venn diagram, like so psychology and like UX UI. There's a lot of similarities there. Mm-hmm. I think you would like that. I think y'all will have engaging conversations.
You got some folks to suggest?
I might.
Yeah.
I might.
Yeah,
I might.
Let me know. I might
yeah. actually. I'm actually
yeah,
I might have a good one.
if you have more than one, I'll take both of them.
Yeah. I might have a good one actually.
I got you.
UX UI would be good.
User interface.
Yeah, user experience. I think even like it's everywhere. Like how you walk into a restaurant. Every
single thing you touch.
Right.
Down to the color, the scheme.
How it's laid out.
How it makes you feel.
Right. When the home button looks like a home. Like for example, like one thing in my job is like applications that I build, you want them to be intuitive. So for example, when you use Instagram or Facebook, no one trained you on how to do that.
Yeah.
You just started, maybe after a couple minutes, you just started using it. Because it's intuitive. Okay, this is like a home button, so I didn't click there. Or my thumb is down here, so you put the home button down here. Or this looks like an accounts button, let me just click that. It's just, this looks like I need to click on this. It's intuitive. No one needs to teach you how to do it. So, and it requires you to really understand people. Yeah. So I think UX UI, I think that'd be a good one.
What would be another one from the IT field that you think would be good for this kind of setup?
Yeah, I think especially now a software engineer probably be good with. And I would want to understand
the lack of jobs right now.
Yeah, or also if they have any fears on AI taking their jobs.
Just type it into YouTube.
Yeah.
It is really bad. For the last 2 weeks, those are the people I've seen coming up lately about the struggle of jobs on the IT side. I know a lot of folks think that no one's hiring at IT at all, and I'm like, no, it's kind of by position. You can see it's by position. Certain folks are no longer being hired.
Right.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the drama between animators and Hollywood when it comes to like
I remember that,
stuff that's going on with Marvel and a lot of these other bigger products. And Sony, did you hear about the Spider-Verse situation? Why that movie has been taking so long? So Into the Spider-Verse, that movie is taking long because the guy who's the director is a nightmare to work with. And he had like upwards of 100 animators and a couple other positions and just working them day in and day out and day out up in Canada, to the point that a lot of people are super happy they got to work on that film, but they would never do work with him again. And that's what's led to the delay of the Enter the Spider-Verse movie that hasn't come out yet. I can send you the link for that. That was crazy. I was like, that is heartbreaking.
Let me ask you a question. So, do you think, remember the CrowdStrike thing?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think is more prone to something happening there? An AI system or a model or a human or humans? What's more prone to that?
It's prone to say we had an AI model that was working it. So AI is great for companies when it comes to, hey, we don't want to take the blame for what's going on.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When it's a human, when it came out and it was like, yeah, an intern, everyone and their mama was like, an intern?
Yeah.
You gon' an intern.
Right,
a position, a job that's important. Someone gave an intern access to something so crucial and important in the systems, and that's what led to that blackout.
That's what happened?
Guys, that's what they said.
Wow.
They said it was an intern. It was an intern that they hired who led to that situation.
Of course.
But this just tells you how plugged in I am.
Yeah, of course they blame the intern.
Yeah. Intern is always low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me think, all right, well, who was actually responsible for that system and what happened? Because there's no way you can tell me it was the intern.
Right. Or only the intern.
Yeah. And I mean, they have a lot of big contracts. Like when that CrowdStrike thing happened, I think the stuff that happened with CrowdStrike is good because in general, as citizens, we just don't understand who has control over what and how that plays into our daily lives.
Yeah.
So when something like CrowdStrike happens, I think it's an opportunity for us to start doing research and understanding who controls what, why they get the big bucks, and how deep the relationships go. Because when CrowdStrike happened, a lot of people was like, you just got to hire another company. You just got to hire another company to replace them. And it's like, well, what if we told you there aren't that many companies that
don't
are
work like
built
that.
like CrowdStrike
Right.
that can easily just replace CrowdStrike.
Right.
You look around the landscape and you realize, this company is built for this.
They're one of the best, if not the best. Yeah.
This company is built for this,
Right.
and we just happen to see one of their mistakes. But also, this company has gotten it right way more than they've gotten it wrong, and that's why a lot of companies aren't just going to move on from CrowdStrike.
Right.
But for CrowdStrike also realized maybe we didn't need to have access on the kernel level that led to this mistake.
Yeah, it's
And I'm just going to leave it at that. That's the best answer I have for you. I think you should always have people. There should always be people on board for whatever's going on. So like with AI right now, people are like, well, we're losing jobs because of AI and the tech side. And it's like, yeah, you're losing jobs for now. But what you're going to find is you're going to need people to clean up all the mistakes that the AI is making. And those are going to be the newer jobs.
Right.
Or when it comes to coding, you're going to need people that the AI is still going to be implemented because that's the product that's being pushed right now. Because this is the second coming of AI and virtual reality being pushed in the IT market. But then there needs to be people that maintain that, and it has to be more than one person, not just one person, and that one person can't use an app because when it comes to MLMs, that's what it's called? LLMs.
Yep.
When it comes to
large
language models. When it comes to LLMs, you don't want an LLM to clean up the mess because do you see what happens when like they start talking to themselves and then they create a language model that no one understands when they start talking to each other. And then it's like, oh, well, how do you fix something you can't understand? It's like, you don't want to bury yourself into a hole.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's why you have to be careful of what is this company actually selling us versus do we need the thing this company is selling in its full packaging? You just need part of it, not the whole thing. But that's a business situation. And right now, I think when it comes to the IT side and a lot of stuff we have going on, you have too many people who only have a business mindset of how do we save money making the decisions. And there needs to be more people that says, hey, save money, cool, but does it work?
Right.
And if we're saving money, what is the trade-off? Are you guys okay with you save money here by letting go of all these people and you plug in the thing in, but then we got to hire more people who, because they have this rare knowledge and a skill set, we have to now pay them more than we did the other people who were there before.
Yeah. It wasn't broken.
Yeah.
Well,
the wheel is always going to be the wheel.
Right. I asked that question because a lot of people feel that like it only takes one mistake. So CrowdStrike, for example, it only takes one time getting the news and your stock will plummet. That an AI system, although they can produce code much quickly, arguably as good a quality, if not higher. But one mistake, you're done. The system's down, server's down, Instagram's down, Facebook's down. One little bug, and worse, you can't, like a CrowdStrike, it's hard to figure out.
Yeah, but then the other side of that is, are you going to trust Microsoft? You mean Microsoft that's been pushing Copilot that wants all your data information and want to record things? And then Copilot that wants to tell you, hey, you're not going to be paying much money. And then it's like, well, if Copilot stores everything in the cloud and your cloud is getting stuffed from all the security things because Copilot is taking screenshots of all the things that it says that it's saving for you. And now you go from paying a $10 monthly bill to 2 years later, a $20 monthly bill to 3 years later, a $100 monthly bill. Are you spending more money or do you realize when you're being bled out slowly? Because that's what a lot of these companies are doing, unfortunately. Like they will paint it as security, but when you get past the security, what's the other half of the pie that's taken out of you? Whether it's like emotionally taxing.
What are you actually doing
here? I have all these things that are stored here, and then if you want to take it a step forward, if I erase all these things, did the company Microsoft erase it correctly, or are they now holding on and storing your information somewhere else for it to be sold after you decide to no longer be a customer of that company?
Is it really yours?
Yeah.
Right.
Does it really belong to you, especially if you're already integrated into this whole ecosystem that's not built for you? You just happen to be a customer of the ecosystem. It's still built for the original company that made it.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's a great job. Great job with the sneaker.
Just a little bit there.
Yeah, but it's so much better than
way
it was
better.
before.
Remember that bark that was here before?
I did. It's gone. I could actually see the white spot of just how much you got it out.
Yeah.
Like that white spot is actually wider than the sole of the sneaker. Hilarious.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Good job.
This looks good, man.
Good job. All right, you can put.
I'm an IT consultant, and this is a day in my shoes.